Nemanja Vidic is arguably the scariest defender in the world, a player so fearless that even the toughest strikers dreaded facing him. But what made him truly unstoppable was his physical dominance. Standing at 6'2", Nemanja had the perfect center-back frame. For years, he stood as the immovable wall at Manchester United, winning 5 Premier League titles, a Champions League, and countless duels that shattered strikers' confidence. Raised on hunger and forged through war, he rose from chaos to become one of the best defenders the game has ever seen. Vidic was never supposed to make it, so what turned a boy from a war-torn country into one of football's most feared defenders?
And when I think of him as a footballer, I think of Nemanja puts his head where other players are scared to put their feet. That's Nemanja. I've seen him saving some balls. Unbelievable.
To understand where that came from, we have to go back to 1981, in a small Serbian town called Ujica, then part of Yugoslavia, where Nemanja was born.
Nemanja's father, Dragoljub, worked in a copper factory, and his mother, Zora, worked as a bank clerk. They were working class, but also not rich. Growing up, one thing Nemanja loved was playing football. He would often play on rough concrete pitches, coming home with cuts and bruises. His mother would patch him up, and he'd go right back out. But that was not even the worst thing about Nemanja's childhood. When he was just a little boy, the Yugoslav Wars broke out, a series of brutal conflicts between several countries that plunged the entire region into chaos and instability for years to come. Sanctions were heavy, and it became even harder for his family to make a living. Sometimes matches were canceled. He was living through a period where schools were closed because of bomb threats or loss of power. He'd go hungry for days because there was never food. But for young Nemanja, football was more than a game. It was an escape. It gave him structure and a sense of control in a world that seemed to be falling apart. All of this pushed him to be stronger, an upbringing that shaped Nemanja to be a really tough kid. He had to learn how to survive at such a young age. While most people would feel like victims and pursue a life of crime, he chose to do something different. He channeled his energy into becoming the best at the one thing he truly loved and cared about: football. But football was never easy for him. He didn't always have the technical skills to stand out, so they put him in positions where he could help the team. He started playing right back. When Vidic was 11, he played with boys who were 13. He was smaller, weaker, and constantly up against opponents who were stronger and faster, so he had to fight. And from an early age, he became a fighter, often finding himself on the ground, but never staying there for long. It was tough, but those moments shaped him. They hardened him, because that's where his character was born, from his youth, from those early years. I was a fighter because I had to always give 100%. If I went into a challenge at 70%, I knew I was always going to fall. I had to give 200% with every tackle. After some time, he began to enjoy being a defender. He liked to defend, to take the ball from other players. That became his challenge. By the age of 15, Nemanja's talent was impossible to ignore. Scouts from Red Star Belgrade, Serbia's most prestigious club, came calling. It was a huge opportunity, but it also meant leaving everything behind. At Red Star, life was tougher than ever. The training was harder, the expectations higher, and Nemanja was far from the most technically gifted player on the team. He would stay behind after training to get extra practice in. One of his teammates said, "This boy has the mind of a leader." But he kept his head down and worked his way up to the Red Star first team. At this point, things were going well. He was made captain, a remarkable feat for someone so young. The club was one of the top forces in Serbian football, but unfortunately it was going through financial and organizational instability due to the war. In 2004, he made a move to a more ruthless and less forgiving league with Spartak Moscow in Russia, a league that would break most players. Although Vidic didn't know it yet, his life was about to change. Meanwhile, Manchester United were struggling to find a long-term defensive partner for Rio Ferdinand. And after 2 years of searching, Vidic would get on Alex Ferguson's radar.
And so Alex Ferguson just called me maybe 3 weeks after Rafa, and he asked me, "Do you want to play for Man United?" I said yes.
In fact, he was supposed to join Fiorentina. The Italian club already had an agreement with him. But there was one problem. They didn't have an open non-EU spot on their roster. That delay gave Sir Alex Ferguson the window he needed, and on Christmas Day 2005, Manchester United agreed to sign him for around £7 million and swooped in to hijack the deal right from under Fiorentina's nose. And this was where the story truly began. When Vidic arrived at Manchester United, you'd think that things immediately took off for him after a big move like that. But that wasn't the case, not at all. No one knew what to expect, including Sir Alex Ferguson, as it was viewed as a risky acquisition. Everyone knew it was going to be a challenge because he barely spoke English, the Premier League was faster and more physical, and his first few months were tough. In 2006, he made his debut in the League Cup semi-final against Blackburn Rovers, and he was a little bit rusty. He was just 24. He didn't make any major mistakes, but also didn't look like the destroyer he'd later become. You could tell he was still adjusting to the speed and physicality, especially compared to the Russian league. At that time, Manchester United was a club in transition. Legends like Roy Keane and Eric Cantona were gone. Arsenal had risen under Wenger, and Chelsea's new money was changing the Premier League. The dominance United once had was being challenged. So Sir Alex Ferguson needed to rebuild, to find players who could restore United's identity, fearless and relentless. He already had the foundation: Cristiano Ronaldo, a young and hungry winger; Wayne Rooney, the explosive forward who played with fire; Paul Scholes, the quiet maestro who controlled the rhythm of the game with every pass; and Ryan Giggs, the veteran whose experience kept the dressing room grounded. But to win again, Ferguson knew one thing: no team can conquer without a rock-solid defense. And that's when Vidic and Ferdinand became the perfect combination. The first season was not a success. He played just 15 games across all competitions, and Manchester United finished second to Jose Mourinho's Chelsea. They were knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage and the FA Cup in the 5th round. The only silverware came from the League Cup, where United beat Wigan 4-0. He came off the bench as a substitute. Despite the limited success that season, he did something that showed his character. After United won the League Cup, he was awarded a winner's medal, but he didn't keep it for himself. The League Cup is quite strict. Only players who appear in the final are officially awarded a winner's medal. Vidic felt that some teammates like Giuseppe Rossi had contributed more overall but didn't get recognized under the official rules. So he gave them his medal as a gesture of respect. After some time, he made a step up, making a permanent start for the squad. In his first full season for the club, he made 37 appearances and scored 3 goals in all competitions. He played a crucial role in Manchester United winning the Premier League title after 3 years without it, and he also helped them reach the semi-finals of the Champions League. In 2008, Nemanja was fully integrated into the Ferguson system. He formed a central defense with Rio Ferdinand that would become legendary, the calm, cerebral Rio perfectly complementing the ruthless, aggressive Nemanja. Vidic played almost every Premier League match, missing a few games due to minor knocks. They had one of the best teams in the world at that time. Ronaldo was just entering his prime, Wayne Rooney was playing incredibly, and everything was clicking. That season, Manchester United won the Premier League, Champions League, and FIFA Club World Cup. He was at the peak of his powers at this point. Off the pitch, he was a very good role model, but on the pitch, he was ruthless, which he had to be when facing some of the world's best strikers at the time, like Didier Drogba, Robin van Persie, or Henry. Offensively, he had also become a threat on set pieces. That season, he scored 7 goals in all competitions and was named Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year, as well as Manchester United Player of the Year, voted by his teammates, including Ronaldo. They would continue their phenomenal form into the next season with an insane run of 14 consecutive clean sheets in the Premier League, setting a new record. But it was in 2009-2010 that everything started to slowly crumble. Manchester United would lose their young superstar and best attacking player. Ronaldo moved to Real Madrid, which meant the defense had to carry even more weight. Things got even worse when Vidic picked up a calf injury that sidelined him for 5 weeks. But Nemanja was coming back with a purpose: to show everyone that he was different. In fact, on his return from injury, it was like he had never lost his touch. He played 47 matches and scored 5 goals in all competitions, helping United win their 19th Premier League title. At the end of the season, his teammates voted him Manchester United's Player of the Year. That season was incredible. The following season, Vidic tore his cruciate ligament, which ended his season entirely, an injury that would end most top athletes' careers. Off the pitch, Vidic spent months in rehab. Hours turned into days, days into weeks, a slow, painful grind to rebuild what had once come so naturally. He had spent his entire life fighting, tackling, and commanding. Now he was fighting a battle he couldn't win with strength alone. It took a very long time to heal, and the journey back was extremely long. Most players lose their explosiveness and agility. His final years were more about his football intelligence and commanding presence than pure athleticism. However, a few years later, Ferguson announced his retirement in a moment that felt like the end of an era. The following season under David Moyes, the rhythm wasn't the same. After 8.5 years at Manchester United, Vidic announced he would leave at the end of the season, having had one of the greatest careers for a Premier League player. 5 Premier League titles, 1 Champions League, 3 League Cups, 1 FIFA Club World Cup, 2 Manchester United Player of the Year awards, and a nomination for PFA Players Player of the Year. He is known as one of the greatest defenders ever in the Premier League. But if you want to know about a player who only used his left foot to become the GOAT, click on this right now and I'll tell you the whole story.